Since four-wheel drive problems seem to be the issue of the week, let's dig into a 96 R33 GTR V-Spec that has four-wheel drive lights. Four-wheel drive lights come on when running. Let's check them codes. Alright, to check codes on this 33 GTR V-Spec, I have my little pointer. Voila. And I will show you where the ECU is. This is missing the finisher piece, but you don't need to remove it to check codes. All you need is a phone with the camera. So this right there is the four-wheel drive computer, and there's a little light. There's a little hole right there that will blink the codes. So we'll turn the car on, or turn the key on. So everything will cycle. And then what I'm going to do is forward facing. And you can see there's the blinking light. So they'll blink in 10s and in 1s. So we have 1, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1. So code 61. And we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1, 2, 3. So now let's go find out what those codes are. Wander over here. Now, the internet is surprisingly less than helpful when it comes to just Googling codes. So I found the Japanese FSM, and if we go through here, this is pretty cool. It has all the breakdown of what the codes are and everything. We have, here's the code list. So I already translated it, but code 61 is a G sensor code, and code 63 is a code that tells me that there's something wrong with G sensor 1 or G sensor 2. A little confusing, but that's what it is. So G sensor 1 here is the output voltage is abnormally high or low, and then the code 63 is the difference between the output voltages of the front and rear G sensor. They continue for a certain amount of time. So this shows me there's something wrong with the G sensor. Well, that or the wiring. So my initial call that maybe the wiring is wrong, or that it could be unplugged easily. You know, you never know the history. So there connects, the G sensor connects. Get a little pointer. Connects with the plug here and the plugs here. So this is at the G sensor, and these are at the sub harness, and then that goes all the way to the ECU back in the trunk. So let's check to see if these ones are plugged in, because that's the easiest to get to. And if those are plugged in, then we'll remove the center console and see if those are plugged into the G sensor. Okay, we're back at the car. The plugs are going to be under this sill. So let's pull that off and pull that back, and there they are. That looks like it's plugged in. That's the G sensor 1 plug, and the G sensor 2 plug is down here. And that also looks like it's plugged in. Okay, so now center console time. Alright, center console. So I took it apart already, but I put it back together to show you. So ashtray out, one screw, then you pull up on the back side, you pull up on this back side, that comes off. Like so. And then you have a screw here, a screw here, and then you have screws on this side and on that side. So if you undo those, then we'll lift the lid out. All right, with that out of the way, we have the G sensor here. So through all my reading, G sensor 2 is the 6-pin plug, but it's 5 wires because it has a longitudinal and latitudinal in it. And then G sensor 1 is the 4-pin here, longitudinal. And the problem seems to be what the code is for G sensor 1. So we will test the circuitry. I'll make sure that it does what it needs to do. And I have the diagram. 1 second, let me pull it out for you. All right, diagram via Google Translate of the original Japanese text. So we are after front G sensor 1, front and rear G sensor 1, 4-pin plug. And then this is the troubleshooting tree to do it. So they tell you to check continuity between all the pins that go to the ECU from the sensor to the ECU. I could do that, but I wanted to shortcut the process. And then it says to check the output pin on both the sensors to see if they're 2.5 volts it resting with the car key on, but car not running, everything plugged in. And I figured that that's a faster way because I can check continuity at the same time. So if I have 2.5 volts at both of the sensors, then I'll go to the back and check to see if I also have 2.5 volts at the sensors. If I don't, if I have 2.5 volts at both the sensors here, that means that the G sensor is good and that the wiring is broken or unplugged somewhere. But if I don't have a voltage at one of the sensors, that means that the G sensor is no good. So, you know, that's my line of thought. So, and it says to check voltage at pin 37, between pin 37 and pin 39 on the ECU. That's in the trunk. But I'm going to test them here at the sensor at between pins 24 and 25 of the front G sensor. So I'm going to get that set up. Okay, I have the multimeter set up. I'm going to have my pins in to test. Let's see if I can hold this and test it at the same time. I don't know. Oh, maybe. There. Can we read that? There we go. Okay, so we're going to test them. Key on. It's a fun sound. I don't know what that is. We'll figure that out later. Alright. And they're testing. And 14 millivolts. It's supposed to be 2.5 volts. Doesn't look right. Let's check sensor 1. Or sensor 2, excuse me. And see what that's given us to make sure that we're doing this test right. Okay, I moved it over. I moved it over to this one now. Alright. Let's see if we can still read it. Okay. And 2.48 volts. That's approximately 2.5 volts. So sensor 2 is working. Sensor 1 is not. So it would lead me to believe that the sensor 1, G sensor 1, is no good. Unusual. I haven't seen it before, but it's not without reason. It's not broken. It hasn't impacted anything hard, so the red line isn't showing here. It's still white. But I have Kendon's R33 there, so I'm going to take this, which does not have a code. It has an aftermarket G sensor. It does not have a code. I'm going to put this box into his car to see if, in fact, that the sensor is no good. That's an easy way to check. We just happen to have a 33 GTR here, and that'll make life easier. Alright, I got Kendon's center console off. He's got an aftermarket G sensor in there, but I wanted to show you that he does not have any codes. So he's got the finisher piece on here, but we can still sneak in here. I'll turn it upside down, and there's the hole he's on, and there's no light. So everything's reading correctly. Let's swap that other G sensor in. All right, let's swap that other G sensor in and see if it throws a code right away. Okay, so bolted it in to the bracket, plugged it in, key on. Let's go to the back. And check some code. Oh, hey, blinking light. We get the same ones. 1, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 1, 2, 3, 63, same as that one, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 61. Okay. So, I am confident that the G sensor out of the white 33 there is no good. So we're gonna have to order one out of Japan, so there won't be a follow-up for a couple of weeks, but I'm almost guarantee you that the G sensor has failed internally. So I don't know if we'll have another four-wheel drive diagnostic problem, but I'll probably do something else in the future. So I pulled the aftermarket Midori G sensor out of Kendon's car to test to make sure that the white car will turn off like it's supposed to. So let's install that. Okay, it's installed temporarily. Let's see if the four-wheel drive light stays off. Success.